It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Athletes Unlimited professional volleyball player Cassidy Lichtman. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to play professional volleyball?
Yeah, I mean, I've played volleyball my whole life. My mom was a volleyball coach. My older brother played, and I've just loved it since I was born, pretty much. And I didn't even know professional volleyball was a career option really until I got to college. I knew I wanted to play in high school. I knew I wanted to play in college, um, but I didn't really see it other than kind of the Olympics. I didn't really see professional volleyball on TV or anything, and so when I got to college and some of my teammates were graduating and going to play, I was like, oh, wow, that's a thing that you can do and get paid for. And decided that, beyond college, I wanted to keep playing and see how far I could go with it.
What was your time like going to Stanford?
It was amazing. I mean, I, you know, would have dreamt of going to Stanford when I was a kid, but didn't wasn't totally sure it was going to be an option. It's one of the best volleyball programs in the country, and obviously a great school, and that's why I ultimately, picked it when they recruited me. And it's just an incredible place to be. Everybody there has something that they're trying to be great at, and some of us are trying to be great at sports. Some of people are trying to be great at science or um, writing or whatever it is, but they're all kind of going for it. And so to be surrounded by all those people who are kind of striving for excellence every day is a really inspiring environment. And then, just the prestige of Stanford kind of draws people to campus, from the outside too, that, the Dalai Lama came when I was there, and Seth Meyers, and just this broad variety of people. And so it was really cool um, to just get to experience all that kind of Stanford had to offer.
Of course, what was it like putting on that volleyball jersey for Stanford?
It was incredible. I mean, I remember, even through my senior year, looking in the mirror sometimes and just being like, this is crazy. Um, it's just such a storied program, and so many great players have come through it. It still blows my mind when I go to alumni events and see, Agata Namani and Carrie Walsh and Kristen Focal and Kim Odin and all of these players that have, really are the legacy of our game. And just to be a part of that program that they've all been a part of, and to, count those people as friends and family because of it is really amazing. And so I never kind of took for granted what it meant to put on that jersey and to play for that school.
Of course, during your time at Stanford, did you just play indoor volleyball or did you also play beach volleyball too?
Yeah, beach at college actually started, I think, a couple years after I graduated. So I just played indoor. I don't know what I would have done if they had beach when I was there. The indoor players at Stanford played on the beach team for, the first 5 or 6 years of the program, and now it's a little bit more split, but just indoor for me.
Of course, looking back at your career, what was it like, obviously knowing that Stanford now has a beach volleyball team and you paved the way for the indoor volleyball to become also the beach volleyball?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're, a sister program, and I know the coaches really well, Andrew and Lauren, and to have watched that program grow and become its own thing and be able to stand on its own 2 feet is really cool. I think Stanford doesn't really start a sports program unless they think that they can be great at it. And so given, the history of the indoor program, it made a lot of sense to start beach, and the courts are beautiful. And so yeah, it's really exciting just to watch that program grow and come into its own too.
What were some of your accomplishments at Stanford?
Um, I mean, I guess the biggest one, from a volleyball perspective, is we won the conference all 4 years that I was there. So it was the Pac-10 at that time. So we won 4 Pac-10 championships, which was really great. It's a really strong conference. We went to 2 Final Fours, which was an incredible experience. I was a first team All-American twice, my junior and senior year, an academic All-American. First team, I think my senior year, and I graduated in 4 years with a bachelor's and a master's from Stanford, which I'm fairly happy with.
Of course, coming out of Stanford, what was it like joining the U.S. national team?
Amazing. That's the pinnacle of our sport. And from the time I was a little kid, like I said, the only thing I saw beyond college was the Olympics, and to see people putting on a USA jersey and going out there was really inspirational. And so I remember watching that, when I was 7 or 8 years old in the Olympics and going, hey, I want to do that someday. And so, it's a big transition from college to the national team. Even if you look at, the All-Americans, the best players come out of college every year, very few of them even actually get to make it in that gym and then stay there for a long period of time. And I got to stay for 5 years before I retired. And it was incredible just to walk in there every day and know that you're trying to be the best in the world at something. It's not something that everybody gets to do in their life.
Can you talk about, of course, what you accomplished in those 5 years on the U.S. national team?
Yeah, I mean, we were the #1 ranked team in the world. And, like I said, that's an incredible feat in and of itself. Won some gold medals at international tournaments. I think the biggest thing was just kind of building the culture that we wanted to. Coach Prix came in as the head coach in 2013 and really asked us what we wanted the program to look like. And we wanted it to be something that was, very competitive, and we were trying to be the best and trying to win, at all of the, biggest tournaments, but also have a culture that was, supportive and where we loved coming in every day and being able to do that. And so I think that's, what I'm really proud of, is that we really try to do that every day. And I, tried to add value where I could as a player, and making it into the gym is a huge accomplishment. Making any roster once you get into the gym is a huge accomplishment. So kind of everything that I got to do with a USA jersey on is, something that's just going to always be one of the defining experiences in my life.
What was it like in 2011 and 2015 going to the Pan American Games?
The Pan Am Games are really cool because they're the one tournament other than the Olympics where it's not just a volleyball tournament. There's all of the other sports are being played too. And so they have, an athlete village like the Olympics has and all of that. And so it's just a different kind of thing. And to get to go to opening and closing ceremonies, and to be in the village with all the rest of the athletes, and to see Olympians that you've seen on TV for years and years, it's just you feel much more kind of a part of Team USA than at any other point other than I assume the Olympics. And so it was really great. The 2011 Pan Ams was actually my first tournament ever with USA, and so we took a really young team, and we were just excited to be there. And it was a great way for me to kind of start off my career. And 2015 was actually the last tournament I went to, so it was a good way to kind of bookend my career.
Of course, what was it like playing in the 2014 FIVB tournament?
Yeah, the Grand Prix is a tough tournament. I played in it a few times, and it was 4 to 5 weeks long. You're traveling to a different country each week, which is a lot. I think 2014 we literally went all the way around the world. I want to say it was like Brazil, Serbia, Thailand, back to the US. So we did a full loop around the world, and it's a lot of travel. It's a lot of playing, but it's really cool because you're experiencing so many different countries in a short period of time. And I think in that one we got to go to Serbia and go to the ambassador's house for dinner. And so you're not, most of the time we're over there, we're in gyms and stuff, but when we have an opportunity, we can go out and see something of that country. And so that's always a special experience. But yeah, I mean, it's a grueling kind of process in those tournaments, but you're going up against kind of the best in the world every weekend, and so it's pretty exciting.
What was it like for you to get to go internationally and play in Switzerland and countries like that?
Yeah, it's a whole nother world, you know. I graduated college, and 2 months later, I moved to Poland for my first season, and then Switzerland and Azerbaijan and France and China, and everywhere you go, you just have to adapt. And there's places where they don't speak the same language as you at all, and I had head coaches who didn't speak English and teammates, and so you really have to learn as much as you can. I try whenever I go somewhere to at least learn some of the language so that we can communicate a little bit, in their language, even if they speak English. But it usually takes a month or so to kind of understand what they're saying and how practice works. And then you get into it and you realize that volleyball is volleyball no matter where you play it in the world. Um, and so that is kind of the common language and bond between all of us. And so it was an incredible experience just from a kind of personal perspective, as I felt like it's a great way to kind of grow as a human and a citizen of the world, just to learn about all of these other cultures. But it's a significant challenge. Like, you're over there for 6 months, 7 months sometimes, and away from your family and friends. And so it was a tough life in some ways, but I learned a lot, and it prepared me, for the summers with the national team.
Of course, what was it like putting on that international jersey and obviously representing a country?
Yeah, it's interesting. Playing overseas felt a little different than college in USA. Um, you put on a jersey over there and it's got all the advertisers on it, and you feel like a little bit more like an employee. And it depended on the club. Like, there were some that I played for that the management was great, and I really wanted to represent the team well. And like my team in France in particular, we won the French Cup, which was a huge deal for them. And so I felt really, really good about how we represented that club, because they'd been really good to us. But coming back and putting on a USA jersey is a whole different feeling, because you're like, this is my home and something that's meant a lot to me for a long time. But that being said, I mean, I've kept, a jersey from each team I played for, just to, remember it 30 years from now, to go back and go, oh yeah, like, here's my name in a different language on the back of my jersey.
Of course, what was it like going to your alma mater in 2015 and obviously winning the national championship?
Yeah, that was really cool. I was not expecting to go back and coach. I had my coach was still there, John Dunning. He had coached me at Stanford, and he asked me to come back to be an assistant. And I initially said I didn't want to do it. It was right when I retired from the national team. And then I thought about it and was like, well, I don't know what I want to do with my life yet. So Stanford's a good place to go figure it out. And I went, and we just happened to have this really incredible team that was really young. We started 4 freshmen in one of the best classes in college volleyball history. And we had a great leader in Inky Ajanaku, who was a 5th-year senior. And it's funny, because what people don't remember about that season is we were not very good at the beginning of it. We lost a lot of matches that Stanford does not normally lose. And it was a little bit rocky because we were so young and kind of inexperienced. And then as we went and got kind of halfway through the season, or even further, things started to fall into place, and we got to the right lineup. And yeah, and going and winning. I mean, just going to coach in the Final Four. I remember sitting there and being like, man, there's so many people out there who would give their right arm to be coaching in this. And I've gotten to play in the Final Four twice, and then I get to coach in it, and then I get to win a national championship, and this is my first season coaching college. I almost was like, I need to apologize to everybody who's been doing this for their whole lives. But it was really cool, and I really loved that team. They were just great, kind of personality wise. So I was really happy for them that they got to win it that year, because I thought they deserved it and came together as a group really well.
Of course, what was that like for you? Obviously, you said you were, as a player, went to the Final Four, and then obviously as a coach, you won the national championship. So what was that like for you?
It was great. It's interesting. I don't think it felt as a coach the way that it would feel as a player. I think it would have been amplified a lot had I won as a player, just because there's more emotion in it from that side of things. But yeah, I mean, it was incredible just to really watch the whole process of that season. and watch those girls, those women come into their own as we went and have to figure it out. And so it was almost better that if we had started out really strongly and then just went and won as a favorite, then I'm sure it would have felt good. But I think it felt better because we had really struggled and kind of found our groove towards the end. And so all of that I think felt really great. And I just, I don't know if I'll ever be a college coach again, but I like the fact that I'm technically a national champion.
Of course, coming off of the international experience, what was it like going to Athletes Unlimited?
Athletes Unlimited was amazing. It was a whole different professional experience from anything that I've ever had. I mean, we've all dreamt, I think, as professional volleyball players, of being able to play within the U.S. because it's not an opportunity that we've had in my lifetime until now. And so, that from the start was amazing, just to be able to go somewhere and know that everybody's gonna speak English and you can like buy what you want at the grocery store is great. But beyond that, I mean, the AU team just put together a production that was extremely high quality. They treated us really well. I think it was the first time that we all really felt like we were being treated at the same level as male athletes get a lot of the time. And so just the quality of the entire experience from top to bottom was beyond what we would have ever even asked for as professional volleyball players. And so I'm just really grateful for the investment they made in our sport and our athletes.
Of course, with Athletes Unlimited, what is it like obviously getting drafted each week to different teams and having different teammates?
Yeah, it's interesting. I liked it. Partly because if you go to a team and if you're not one of the best teams in the league, you still have a full season to play, and you're maybe just going to keep losing and keep losing. But with AU, you can go to a team, and then if you don't do well the very next week, you get picked up by a different team, and everything reshuffles, and maybe you're on the best team all of a sudden. And so it really keeps you kind of focused on just doing the best that you can to help your team. And it's a new challenge, and you rarely at this point in your career get a new challenge like that. And so I think it was exciting, for me, just to have to think about things in a little bit different way, and to come up with, each week, what's the strategy that's going to work for this group and this team, and how do we come together in this short period of time. So I thought it was fun to just kind of play with a new concept.
Of course, what is it like obviously getting to wear the purple, blue, and orange jersey?
It's cool. I like how they've put that together and used the brand colors in really interesting ways. And each week we get to kind of make up a team name for ourselves and create a team identity. And so it's just a fun kind of overall experience to not know where you're going to end up and then just have to figure it out on the fly.
Of course, what are some of your game day routines and rituals like?
I don't have too many by design, because I worry that they'll get disrupted and then that'll mess with me. But generally speaking, I take a shower and a nap at some point during the day beforehand if we're playing any time past 2 or 3. And the only kind of real thing that I do right before I play every time is I like tie my shoes really mindfully. Like I take a moment when I'm tying my shoes, because it's something that you do every time you get into practice and into a game. That I just take a second to like really focus on that, because it's my way of kind of signaling like, all right, like it's time to go now, and kind of focus in.
Who are some players, obviously on the Athletes Unlimited volleyball, that you look up to and enjoy playing against?
There's a lot. I mean, Jordan Larson, obviously, I got to play with her on the national team. I got to play with her in AU and against her, and she's just one of the best all-around players, ever for volleyball in our country and in the world. And every time I get to watch her play, it's just a privilege to see somebody who's that kind of masterful at the all-around game and the entire craft. And she puts a lot of work into that. But Tania de la Cruz from Dominican, and Sheila Castro from Brazil, both of them I had played against internationally, but to get to be in an environment like AU with them and really get to know them and talk to them and play with and against them each week was really fun. And it was, one of the most rewarding, I think, parts was it's because we're all in one place and we're all we're all, on different teams each week, but we're all part of the same group, that we really get to interact with each other a lot, and have, meaningful conversations. And so it was exciting to, just be able to do that with people who I'd played against and watched and respected really highly on the volleyball court for long periods of time.
Of course, what is it like playing with players that obviously in college that you played against and not with, and now you get to play with them?
Yeah, well, it's fun. I mean, especially the ones that are really good. It's much more fun to play with them than against them sometimes. So, like, Jordan's one of those. I remember, yeah, when I came to the national team, there was a lot of that. Like, when I was at Stanford, I think it felt like we had half the future national team and Penn State had the other half. And then we got to the national team and we were all on the same side. And it's fun to kind of go back and reminisce about the times we played against each other and who won and who lost and what they were thinking and what we were thinking. And so there's all kinds of, great stories that we can go back to. But yeah, all of those great players, I'd much rather be on their side than against them for the most part.
Of course, what are some of your future plans when it comes to this upcoming season?
Yeah, I'm super excited about season 2. We're in the middle of planning for it right now. We're going to be back in Dallas. That was just announced a week or so ago. We're going to have fans this time, which is just going to change, I think, the dynamic for us a lot. We're really excited. Last year, we were in the COVID bubble and nobody was allowed in. And so to have people in the stands and to get to meet them after games and, play with some kids and all that kind of stuff, we missed out on, I think is going to be really fun. And then now that we just know how it works and are used to the process, I think going into season 2, we're just going to understand it a lot better and it's going to work even more smoothly. And we're going to bring back, some of our best players and bring in some new ones. And so I'm just excited to see kind of how it all unfolds for this next season.
Of course, going into season 2, what will it be like, obviously, when you get to meet your fans that obviously looked up to you and obviously playing?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best parts always, is just being able to, be face to face with people and who appreciate what you do. And they bring so much energy to the game when they're in the building that it's just a special experience, especially when there are young people who get to come, little girls and boys who can see professional volleyball for the first time in their country. I think that's a big deal for us. And, it's great at the college level too. It's, one of the things that I remember from Stanford, and we rarely get that with the U.S. national team. With some international fans, but we don't play at home as much as we do in college. And so I think it's just going to be incredible to be back in that kind of environment and have those kids in there knowing that this is the first time that they'll, be able to see professional volleyball. And that's something that we're bringing to them. And hopefully, some of them are going to grow up and get to play it too.
What advice would you give college volleyball players looking to play college volleyball and then move on?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing I'd say is just, figure out what kind of player that you are or you want to be. It's easy to look at college and see all of the big hitters and the strongest, highest jumping players. And if you're one of those, awesome. Like, figure out, how you're going to score your points and how to kind of shore up the other parts of your game. And if you're not one of those, like me, then you have to figure out how you're going to add value. And so, maybe that's being a great passer or, really understanding how to run the offense as a setter, bring all the kind of intangibles that you can bring to the game. And so I think, that was something even I had to do during college, was to not try to be who my teammates were. When I played with somebody like Alex Kleinman, who's, 6'4", or Cynthia Barbosa, who hits a lot harder than I do, and to go, okay, what is it that I'm going to do? What works within my game, and to just kind of stick within that and be consistent. And I think that goes for international too. But that's just about, finding our opportunities and learning about how the international system works. And if you're lucky, kind of making it into the national team gym, which is just an incredible place to train as an athlete.
What advice would you give those players looking to go internationally?
The first thing is really about kind of finding an agent who's going to help you out. And I would say before that, talking to some players who have done it to figure out what your options are and the kind of agents you should be looking for and the kind of opportunities you should be expecting. There are a lot of players who go overseas every year, far more than play for the national team. We send hundreds of players to Europe and Asia and elsewhere every year. And so finding some of those and just talking to them. And we just a couple weeks ago, I was talking to some graduating seniors from a couple college teams. And so getting in contact with somebody, and just most of us are willing to answer questions. And then you want to find the right agent for you who's going to help you find the best opportunity that fits your game and where you're at in your career.
What advice would you give players that are looking to play nationally for obviously the U.S. national team and teams like obviously Athletes Unlimited?
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. national team, it's just you work on your game and let them know if you're interested in coming. They also have a tryout every year, a USA volleyball tryout, and so that's a possibility. But it's really about kind of as you're in college, working as hard as you can to help your team, and they take notice of that and invite you to the gym. And you can always ask if you can come in as well. But I mean, it's really kind of one of the last sort of meritocracies in the world. It's like if you've got the game to do it, then they're going to recognize it and bring you in. And then in terms of AU, I mean, it's again about asking, making sure that people know that you're interested. It's always a good first step. I know on our website auprosports.com they have a form you can fill out that comes to the players who are in charge of recruiting. But yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, is just look for the opportunities that you want, and don't be afraid to ask about them. But at the end of the day, it's just going to be, are you in the gym working on your game every day?
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Yeah, you can find me at Cassidy Lichtman on Twitter. I think I'm at Cassidy Lichtman 7 on Instagram and Facebook. I also run a nonprofit called Path, and so we're at Path Sports on most social channels. I'm pretty easy to find.
Thank you again, Cassidy Lichtman, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with Athletes Unlimited.
Thank you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Cassidy Lichtman, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with Athletes Unlimited.
Thanks.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.